It is well known that balding people can use treatments right now that can regrow their hair without surgery and without a hair transplant. But the reality is that whether those treatments work for you and how well they work depends on one thing: how far your hair loss has already gone. So that is exactly what this video is going to look at. We go through every stage of the Norwood scale, balding stage 2 all the way to stage 7. For each one, I will show you what science says. I will show you real people who were at that stage and what happened to them if they were able to regrow their hair. And I will tell you what treatments make the most sense. By the end of this video, you will know exactly where you stand and you will know what to do next and what treatments to try if you haven't already. Let's go. This is the Norwood scale. It goes from 1 to 7. Stage 1 is a full head of hair. Think of someone like Brad Pitt or Michael Douglas. Strong, full head of hair that isn't affected by hair loss. Stage 7 is the opposite. Only hair on the sides and the back remains. We skip stage 1 today. If you are there, you are fine. Just keep an eye on your hairline. We start at stage 2 and go all the way up to stage 7. Here's one idea I want you to keep in mind as we go through this. Hair follicles that are miniaturized, meaning they are shrinking, can often still be saved. Follicles that are truly dead are much harder to help. The difference between those two things is the whole game. Okay, stage 2. This is a slight pullback at the temples. You can still style around it. Most people around you probably haven't noticed yet, but you have. That's actually a good thing. Catching hair loss here is the best place to be. At this stage, it is often enough to start with just one treatment, oral finasteride. Why? Because at this stage, DHT, the hormone that causes hair follicles to shrink, is the main problem. Finasteride lowers DHT levels to about 60 to 70%. Studies showed that about 83% of men maintained or improved their hair over 2 years on finasteride alone. This is often enough to stop hair loss at this stage. Let me show you a real example. A user started finasteride at age 23 with a classic Norwood 2 pattern, receding corners and some general thinning. For the first 6 months, things actually seemed to get worse. So he added topical minoxidil and a 1.5mm derma roller. After that, he began documenting his progress with photos. Across multiple updates, the results were clear. Regrowth along the hairline and temples filling in again. That's what acting early can do. You see results faster, you keep more hair, and you often avoid needing surgery. At Norwood 2, the core treatment is finasteride. Adding topical minoxidil and microneedling can accelerate regrowth even further. Now we move to Norwood 3. At this stage, the recession becomes clearly visible. You can't really style around it anymore. Some people also start thinning on the crown. This is called Norwood 3 vertex. This is the stage where many men finally decide to take action. The good news is that treatments still work very well here. The most effective approach is to attack the problem from 2 directions. Finasteride stops DHT from damaging follicles, and minoxidil stimulates follicles directly and pushes them into the growth phase. Together, they perform significantly better than either treatment alone. If you add microneedling, which creates small controlled injuries in the scalp and stimulates growth signals, the effect can be amplified even more. Here's a real example. One user had thinning at the crown, a classic Norwood 3 vertex pattern. His routine was simple: topical minoxidil twice a day and weekly microneedling. After 7 months, his before and after pictures showed a dramatic improvement in the crown density. He wrote, "There is hope. Stay consistent and trust the process." He made an important point. Don't rely on what your hair feels like. Take photos, compare them. That's how you really see progress. At Norwood 3, finasteride plus minoxidil should be the foundation. Microneedling can significantly boost results. And if finasteride isn't strong enough, some people consider switching to dutasteride. Now we move to Norwood 4. At this stage, Both the crown and the temples are thinning. There is still a strip of hair across the top, but it's becoming weaker. Many people reach this stage after years of untreated hair loss. But the science here is still very encouraging. A large study followed more than 500 men across all Norwood stages using oral minoxidil and finasteride together. After 12 months, over 92% of participants were stable or improved. More than half showed marked improvement. Interestingly, men at advanced stages responded just as well as men who started earlier. Here's a real example. One man had spent 8 years shaving his head because his hair was too thin to grow out. He started taking finasteride and oral minoxidil. 17 months later, he posted before and after photos showing a dramatic regrowth. For the first time in nearly a decade, his hair was growing out again. That post received thousands of upvotes because the transformation was so striking. At Norwood 4, the combination of a strong DHT blocker and oral minoxidil can still produce significant regrowth. Microneedling can add an extra boost. Before we continue, I want to say something really important. When it comes to hair loss treatments, quality matters. These are not supplements or shampoos. These are active compounds that you apply to your scalp every day. The formulation matters. The concentration matters. Where it is produced also matters. Personally, I use Ulo products in my routine. My daily treatment is their topical Minoxidil 7% with tretinoin. If you want to see exactly what I use, the links are in the description. Now let's continue. Norwood 5. At this stage, the crown and the temples are very close to joining. The bridge of hair across the top is extremely thin. Here, the goal starts to shift slightly. Instead of chasing a perfect recovery, the goal becomes halting further hair loss and recovering whatever follicles are still alive. That's still extremely valuable. The same large study we mentioned earlier included men at Norwood 5. Many still showed meaningful improvement. The key insight is that miniaturized follicles are not dead. They can still respond to treatment. One example is a 29-year-old who documented his progress with multiple photos over several months. He used a topical combination of finasteride and minoxidil along with a laser therapy helmet. Over time, his crown visibly filled in across different lightning conditions. He described the decision to start treatment again as one of the best choices he ever made. At Norwood 5, stronger treatments like finasteride combined with oral minoxidil are often used. Microneedling can help stimulate weaker follicles, and many people begin researching hair transplants as a future option alongside treatments. Now we reach Norwood 6. At this stage, the crown and the temples have merged and the top of the scalp is largely bald. Many people assume nothing can be done, but the data tells a more complicated story. A study examining men with a Norwood 6 and 7 patterns treated with low-dose oral minoxidil and finasteride found that all participants were either stable or improved. Between half and two-thirds experienced measured hair regrowth. Even at advanced stages, some follicles are still capable of responding. One documented case involved a 50-year-old man with Norwood 6 hair loss. After 12 months using topical finasteride and minoxidil, his photo showed visible patches of regrowth across the crown. Nobody told him it was too late. He simply started treatment. At Norwood 6, the goal is stabilization first and regrowth second. Strong medical therapy combined with microneedling can sometimes produce surprising improvements. Many people also begin exploring hair transplant options alongside the treatment. Finally, Norwood 7. This is the most advanced stage. Only the horseshoe pattern of hair on the sides and the back remains. At this point, the main priority changes. The focus becomes protecting the remaining donor hair. That hair is what surgeons use during hair transplants. Keeping it healthy is essential. Even here, studies showed that medications can stabilize hair loss and sometimes produce limited regrowth, but results vary much more at this stage. The most consistent benefit is protecting existing hair, so future options remain open. Some people still experiment with full treatment stacks, including dutasteride, oral minoxidil, topical treatments, and microneedling. But expectations need to be realistic. The goal is protection, stabilization, and planning for long-term options. So, can you regrow a hair without a transplant? Here is the honest answer. At Norwood 2, the chances are very high. Finasteride alone is often enough. At Norwood 3, regrowth is very common when treatments are combined. At Norwood 4, strong medical treatment can still produce significant improvements. At Norwood 5, progress is harder but still very possible. At Norwood 6, some people still experience regrowth, though expectations should be realistic. At Norwood 7, the main goal is protecting donor hair and planning future treatments. Across studies involving hundreds of men at all stages, more than 90% were either stable or improved with treatment. The biggest mistake people make is waiting. They wait because they are unsure or they are in denial. They wait because they think it is already too late. But the data consistently shows one thing: the sooner you start, the better your chances. Every year you wait, more follicles become permanently lost. So whatever stage you are at, the best time to start is now. Tell me in the comments what Norwood stage you think you are right now. I try to read every comment. The links to the treatments I use are in the description. And until next time, I wish you a happy hair journey. Bye.